Ubisoft put Heroes of Might and Magic 3 Complete on Steam for $10, and fans saw the version they had wanted sitting behind a purchase button. One click later, the library updated, the install began, and the progress bar finished almost immediately, which looked impressive until the download size appeared 23 kilobytes. Inside the folder sat one file, Heroes 3, and opening it did not launch a campaign, a menu, or even an error screen from the actual game. Instead, a black command window appeared and informed the buyer that this was a dummy executable. Normally, that would sound like a joke somebody posted after getting bored with Ubisoft discourse, except paying customers had actually reached this screen. Years earlier, Steam received the 2015 HD edition, but that release lacked Armageddon's Blade, the Shadow of Death, and the random map generator, so longtime players still had reasons to buy the complete version elsewhere. Finally, Ubisoft brought that package to Steam, which should have been simple, because nothing needed to be redesigned or reinvented. Everything required to sell Heroes 3 already existed. Yet somehow the part that failed was the part where those finished files were supposed to reach the customer. Worse, the executable itself seemed to know something had gone wrong. Its message told users to make sure they were on the correct Steam branch, which raised an obvious question. Players suspected the wrong build or branch had gone public, but Ubisoft never published a technical explanation confirming the exact cause. What remains certain is more embarrassing. Customers found the placeholder before Ubisoft stopped them from buying it. So how does a major publisher turn a finished 27-year-old game into a launch failure before the game even begins? And why did the customer become the person who discovered it first? Before we go any further, if watching billion-dollar publishers trip over jobs that should be impossible to fail is somehow your idea of entertainment, then like the video and subscribe. Apparently, YouTube still needs constant reassurance that actual humans enjoy videos made for actual humans, so help the algorithm understand that this channel exists, support the diagnosis, and then we can return to Ubisoft discovering that a Steam release generally works better when it contains the Steam release. Back on the store page, nothing warned the buyer that anything was wrong. The artwork loaded, the price was correct, payment went through, the game appeared in the library, and Steam offered the usual reassuring play button, as though the transaction had completed perfectly. Only after someone tried to launch the thing did the illusion collapse, because behind all those normal storefront signals sat a file openly admitting it was not the finished product. Players started sharing what they were seeing. Screenshots appeared, install sizes were compared, folders were opened, and the same ridiculous result kept staring back at them. 23 kilobytes and one executable where an entire strategy game was supposed to be. From there, people worked backward from the branch message and concluded that Ubisoft had probably pushed the wrong build or failed to move the correct branch into public release. That explanation makes sense, but this is where the facts matter more than the joke. Ubisoft never released a technical postmortem saying somebody forgot to flip a branch, so there is no reason to invent an employee, a missed checkbox, or some exhausted developer discovering the mistake after lunch. The visible failure is enough. Whatever happened internally, customers could purchase a package containing almost nothing. And that brings us back to the awkward question Ubisoft never really answered. Why did the customer catch this first? Hours went by while the screenshots spread. Reporting placed the broken state at roughly 10 hours, while players later received an update of around 770 megabytes roughly 11 hours after release. Eventually, the official Might and Magic account said the problem had been investigated and resolved, thanked the community, and apologized for the inconvenience. Credit where it is due, Ubisoft fixed it the same day. The game does not still download as 23 kilobytes, and pretending otherwise would turn a funny launch failure into a dishonest story. Yet correcting the files does not erase what happened before the correction, because for roughly half a day customers could buy Heroes 3 without actually receiving Heroes 3. Meanwhile, PC Gamer reported that roughly 80% of Steam reviews were negative during the broken period, which is quite an achievement considering Ubisoft had not changed the thing people loved about Heroes 3. No balance patch destroyed the combat, no new writers butchered the characters, no remaster smeared the art into plastic, and no live service roadmap arrived to explain why a 27-year-old strategy game desperately needed seasonal content. Nothing inside Heroes 3 had to fail. Ubisoft managed to create a broken launch around a game it did not even have to make. That is where this stops being a routine launch day joke and becomes almost impressive. A modern multiplayer game can collapse under server load. New software can break on some obscure hardware combination nobody tested. Giant open worlds can produce bugs that only appear after millions of players start doing things developers never expected. Ubisoft did not have to build another combat system, record another voice line, design another map, or convince anyone that Heroes 3 deserved to exist. The company only had to make the public install button point toward the product sitting behind the store page. That was the part that failed. Suddenly, the 23 kilobyte download stops looking like a funny technical mishap and starts looking like a quality control question with a price tag attached. Somebody could click buy, money could change hands, Steam could declare the transaction successful, and only then would the customer discover that the final package was a placeholder. Notice what did not happen here. No DRM system has been proven to have caused this. Ubisoft did not permanently revoke the game. Players were not left without access forever. Nobody needs to pretend this was some secret plan to sell empty folders, because that would make the story weaker. The villain is far more ordinary. Ubisoft's release process allowed the wrong thing to reach the public. Customers watched it happen on their own screens. The store page said Heroes 3. The library said Heroes 3. The play button said Heroes 3 was ready. The folder said otherwise. Here the process exposed itself. A buyer clicked play and got a command window instead of a game. Every layer capable of processing the purchase had worked, yet the part containing the product had not. That is why the story spread beyond the Heroes community. You did not need to know anything about Arathia, turn-based combat, or the history of might and magic to understand the joke. $10 went in, 23 kilobytes came out, and the only executable effectively announced that somebody had shipped the wrong thing. Reddit's same-day discussion climbed into the thousands of upvotes because the failure could be understood in seconds. Commenters connected it to Ubisoft's larger reputation around launchers, licenses, accounts, and digital ownership. Those issues did not cause this incident, but they explain why another Ubisoft mistake involving access to a purchased game landed so easily with people already tired of trusting publishers to manage everything between payment and play. Picture the buyer staring at that dummy executable, closing the window, returning to Steam, and pressing refund instead of deciding that $10 is too small to matter. Now the failure is not just a screenshot Ubisoft can laugh off once the patch arrives. The transaction reverses. Refusing to reward a broken release is enough. Nobody needs to swear off every digital game forever, and one botched Heroes 3 launch does not prove that every digital purchase is about to disappear. The point is simpler. When the thing behind the purchase button is not the thing advertised, the customer does not have to reward the transaction. That is not predicting some future collapse of ownership. It is responding to something that already happened. Still, none of this means the developers who corrected the files deserve to become cartoon villains. The target is the process that allowed a placeholder package to become the customer-facing product. Somebody fixed the problem, and they fixed it reasonably quickly. Fine. That is what should happen after a mistake. Perhaps the whole thing lands harder, because Heroes 3 never needed Ubisoft to rescue it. The game had already spent 27 years building its reputation. People still wanted it badly enough to buy the complete edition again on another storefront. Ubisoft did not need to modernize the writing, replace the art, rebuild the combat, add seasons, create a battle pass, or explain why the franchise needed a bold new direction. All it had to do was deliver the files. Those first buyers got a command prompt instead. After the proper update arrived, players could download Heroes 3 and actually play Heroes 3, and Ubisoft publicly confirmed that the problem had been resolved. Nobody should claim the game remains broken, that Ubisoft deliberately sold nothing, or that DRM caused it. The facts are embarrassing enough without any help. For roughly 10 or 11 hours, customers could buy a 27-year-old finished game and discover that the public package contained practically everything except the game. The dummy executable pointed toward the Steam branch, but Ubisoft never publicly explained the precise internal chain of events that allowed that package to reach buyers. So, if there is a boycott worth calling for here, make it one tied to something customers can actually see. Stop rewarding broken launches. Stop treating pre-orders as mandatory when nobody outside the company has verified the finished product. Use refunds when what arrives is not what was sold, and support versions that give you more control when those options exist. Ultimately, Ubisoft fixed Heroes 3, but it could not undo the sequence that made the story ridiculous. Fans waited for the complete edition. Steam took $10. The download finished at 23 kilobytes. One executable appeared. That executable announced it was a dummy. After all of that, the same question remains sitting beside the command window. How did the customer become the person who caught it? Maybe that is the perfect ending for this launch, because Ubisoft did not need to ruin Heroes 3 to create a controversy around Heroes 3. A game from 1999 arrived with its reputation intact, its expansions finished, its audience ready, and only one genuinely important job left to do. For roughly half a day, even the handoff was apparently asking too much. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.